It hurts still though. Well, like there's still hurts. We gotta get that thing. Oh, that is
Dion, and I got your bag in the car. I'll give it to you in the morning. We have about 3 more minutes. If you are on the GVI board, please make your way to the front row, please.
I like it. Like, yeah, nice little gun.
Good evening, it is 6 o'clock. Can everyone go ahead and take their seats? One of the things that I've learned working for the city of Pine Bluff and the mayor and chief, they like to be on time. So we are going to be on time because we want to get out on time. First of all, my name is Lanita Hughes. Most people call me Nikki, and most people know me Nikki in the community. I am the Group Violence Intervention Director for the city of Pine Bluff. It is my pleasure to serve you in that role and to collaborate and work in this community. First thing I want to say is thank you for being here, because that means you care about what's going on in the community and want to make a change. And without you, I cannot do this work. At this time, I want to open up with a prayer for Pastor Roosevelt Brown at this time, and then we'll move on in the program. And I'll tell you what the flow of the program will be so you'll all know, but I want to definitely start with a prayer.
Let us all place our body, heart, mind, and soul in a place of prayer. Father God, here this evening, we find ourselves gathered here in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, for a purpose that you know way more about than we do. But we come so humbly to allow you to guide us and to steward us, to bring us together as much as we can, to do our best for you in this community. And Lord, we sit in the chairs and stand throughout this room with many titles. But Lord, we all have a name and a personality and a hope. And it's in you, Jesus, that we're trusting in. So I just pray that your blessings and your favor will be on this meeting, on this town hall meeting tonight, the conversation up front, the conversation throughout the seated area. And Lord, as this is new to us, this strategy, this hope, this beautiful way of looking at life as it can be, Father, we lay it at your feet, and we pray that you use us to use it to the best right here in Pine Bluff and Arkansas. We thank you for our out-of-town guests, our visitors, caring for us, depositing wisdom in and through us. May we use it for your full glory and your full honor. Father, we love the little kids. We love the teens. We love the young adults. We love the older adults. And Lord, we need to come together. May this day be a signature day that Pine Bluff begin to do and continue to do what is best for you and best for itself. We thank you and give you the glory in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. And amen.
Thank you, Pastor Brown. Did everyone get a handout in the front? I know we hear the term GVI, nobody knows what that means. We hear it all the time. How many heard it and didn't know what it meant? I know I did when I first was thinking about taking this position. I was like, what is GVI? And Judge Brown and Mayor Washington sent me so much stuff that I didn't have a choice but to learn. And what I learned, it was a strategy, not a program, that can help us in group violence. So what does that really mean? We hear about all the violence that's going on, and what we're learning is groups of people that are doing the violence. The other thing we know is we've got to get in there to figure out why they're doing the violence. That's the piece we were missing because we didn't know how to put this together, a strategy to end this. What we also learned is we can't do it just with law enforcement.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
We can't just do it with the mayor either.
That's right.
It's going to take the whole community to do this. And I wanted to start there because what I don't want this meeting to be, I don't want it to be a finger point. I want it to be a solution.
Amen.
I don't want to be, it's not a blame game. We all have to, me too. I got to take a part in this. What we are having here, we brought our guests here, a few of us traveled to Pennsylvania in June, and we took an opportunity to learn from the people that are doing the work. And they were willing to say, we don't know everything either. We came here to learn. That was the first thing Tiff told me. I came here to learn too. But it was an opportunity for us to connect with this group and see boots on the ground how this work can be accomplished here in Pine Bluff. So I wanted to make sure to say that because it's important to know why they're here. The other thing I want to say is let's be respectful of everyone that speaks tonight. Let's be respectful if someone has an idea. I want to work with everybody in this room. I don't operate in silos. You can't do GVI in silos. So I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak, but we are respectful to one another. I want to get those ground rules out in the very beginning. Thank you, as I said again, for Pastor Roosevelt Brown. He's doing a lot of great work in the community, and I couldn't have found a better choice to come and really do that prayer for us tonight, because he's praying all over the city. So, Pastor Brown, I don't know where you went, but thank you. I will do introductions now because I want you all to know who's been doing the work. And one thing about GVI, it's not always above board. You may not always see it. But understand, this work being done in the background. We're meeting, we're talking, we're doing some things. It's taking brick by brick. What's your term? One of y'all said something today. No, it was you. What did you say, Tiff, about the elephant?
One bite at a time.
You eat the elephant one bite at a time. So it's going to take some time. We didn't get in this situation overnight, so it's going to take a little bit. But I definitely want to make sure that I introduce my board. I'll first start with our Mayor, Shirley Washington. Mayor Shirley Washington, please stand. Next, we have Chief Denise Richardson. We have Judge Ernest E. Brown, Jr. Sheriff Lafayette Woods is in the back. I know Chief Joanna Jackson is in here somewhere. I know she thinks she was still on the other side, but she's the Chief Juvenile Officer for 6th Division Circuit Court that works under Judge Brown. Mr. Eric Walden is right here in front of me. He's the Assistant Chief under Judge Brown. We have our DA, Kyle Hunter, who is also on our board as well. I don't see her, but our City Attorney out there, Scott Haddon, is on our board as well. I'm going to single these next few out a little bit more, and that's Dr. Barbara Reed and Assistant Superintendent Philip Carlock. And the reason I want to single them out, and as well as Mr. Wilson and Ms. McNeil, I can't do this work without the schools, and they have been a big help in this process. We have Ms. Sherry James, Executive Director for Southeast Arkansas Behavioral Health. I know I saw Judge Gwynn in here, Judge Gwynn as well. And then we have the opportunity to have, I say a gem of this community, and that's Ms. Cheryl Hadley. She knows everybody. I'm going to also introduce our guests. I'll actually start on this end. We have Fatma Zara. I definitely want to give her a shout out. She is from Pine Bluff. She works for the National Network of Central State Communities. That came with Professor Kennedy. She's a zebra. All right, we have Kevin Johnson. He works for the National Network of State Communities. On the end, we have Lieutenant Matt Irwin, who is from the York PD Department. Next to him we have Tiff Lowe. She is the Director of Group Violence for York, Pennsylvania. Sitting beside her is Police Commissioner Mike Muldrow. He's over the York PD. Next to me is Professor David Kennedy. He's been on me all day about making sure I say David. It's just Professor Kennedy. Professor Kennedy is here from National Network. He came all the way from New York. Next to him, we have Deion Sumter. He's the Director of GVI from Philadelphia. Next to him, we have Kiana Henderson. She's the Assistant Director for GVI from York, Pennsylvania. And last but not least, we have Ms. Kim Burrell. She is a mother who lost her son to gun violence in Philadelphia. And if some of you all came in late, but she did an amazing job speaking to some of our mothers here just a few minutes ago, sharing her story. And I asked her to give you guys a little snippet of that so you can understand what her passion is and why she does this work and why we feel GVI can work here. At this time, how it will go out, we'll have Tiff, Deion, and Professor Kennedy. They're going to talk briefly because I want you guys to be able to ask your questions. They'll give about 5 minutes. I know, Tiff, that's going to be tough for you, but 5 minutes. because I want to open the floor. Ms. Lanston, I forgot. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Lanston. Ms. Lanston, whew, have to give it up to our moderator, Ms. Bessie Lanston. So I'm going to give them 5 minutes to come up and give a snippet. Dion, you'll go first, and Tiff and Professor Kennedy. And then I'm going to turn the mic over to Ms. Lansland. What I ask is that you raise your hand. I know 6th Division is here. If you can identify who wants to come to the mic, so it's much easier for Ms. Lansland to identify who wants to ask a question. And then we'll keep rolling from that point on. 7:15, 7:20. I will start winding down. I'm giving a heads up. 7:30, I want to go home, just like everybody else in here and the staff here. And I want to also shout out the Pine Bluff Convention Center. They've been amazing hosts. We have been running them pretty rapid. So I want to thank you all for the work you've done. So, Dion, I'll pass it to you. Oh, one thing. Hold on, I forget. Before I forget, when we traveled to Pennsylvania, we had a chance to see what really means something beside GVI to Tiff. She has a mantra that says more graduations, less funerals. And I've been wearing my shirt. I actually wore it to Pine Bluff High on the first day of school to show the students, you know, that's what we want. I told her that she uses them as an opportunity. She gives shirts. You can finish the rest of it, but she use it as an opportunity to invest back into the community that she's serving. So it's not just, I'm just selling shirts to be selling shirts. She has a purpose for this. So I told her that we would put them on the table, and if anybody wanted to purchase one, they're $20. And that's the rate. We want to make sure we support their effort when they go back, the work that they're doing. So I wanted to make sure I said that. So okay.
Good evening, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I'm from Philadelphia, so this is my first time even being in Arkansas, and it's been an incredible experience. Great food, by the way, as well. And with me is Miss.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Burrell from Philadelphia. I'm happy to be here. I love this town.
And you know, from the city of Philadelphia as director of this strategy, I know you all are curious about the GVI strategy, and I'm here just to kind of let you guys know that it works. Right? Philadelphia, you know, we're a city of 1.6 million people, so what we have in Philly don't compare to the amount of people that's in Pine Bluff. I believe about between 35 to 40,000. And in 2019, the city of Philadelphia lost 520 plus young people. So just imagine the amount of people that we lost in the city of Philadelphia. So we knew, and we understood that we needed to do something. We had to make a difference in our community. And obviously there is a plethora of strategies and programs across the nation that's being utilized to combat gun violence. Well, we understood that GVI, which is a strategy that is not just being used in Pennsylvania, but nationally and internationally. So cities such as Miami, soon to be St. Louis, Philadelphia, York, PA, Columbus, Ohio, all the way to Oakland are utilizing this strategy. So we knew that in order for us to really make an impact in the city of Philadelphia, we needed to bring in a new strategy that could really help us to reach the young folks. So the GVI strategy is one where we don't work with the kids that are coming to school getting suspended for bringing a lighter. We work with the kids who are coming to school bringing a gun. We work with the individuals who are on that spectrum to kill or to be killed. So we work closely with individuals, and again, in the city of Philadelphia, we don't have the typical Bloods and and Crips or Latin Kings, but we have kids who are part of a network, who are part of a group that are in conflict with another group. And we understand that social media is a huge driver of conflict. So we got a lot of kids who might be from 27th Street going to 30th Street, posting a picture on the corner saying, "I'm out here, where are you?" So obviously those guys from 30th Street feels that they need to retaliate. And so we're seeing a lot of senseless conflict. And one of the biggest things that we saw in the city of Philadelphia, and I always would say, is once a life is lost, it's hard to come back from that. I have a twin brother who looked just like me, and I can tell you, if someone hurt my brother, I don't know what, I'm gonna do something, right? And that's just the natural way of how relationships and love works. And you have a lot of these guys who are out here in the cities who are constantly just retaliating because they lost somebody. But the GVI strategy is one that has worked tremendously within the city of Philadelphia. It is a law enforcement strategy. It's a strategy that, in Philly, one thing about us is, and I know Nikki mentioned about a city told her that we're resource rich, but our collaboration is poor. And that's Philadelphia, where you have all these entities, mayor, DA, probation, the courts, community members, social service providers who don't work together. But the GVI strategy was one where we was able to bring everyone to the table with one accord. Our focus is just to save a life, and it's that simple. Forget about the politics, forget about titles. Let's put forth the effort. So this strategy within the city of Philadelphia, what we was able to do was we was able to merge all worlds. We merged PPD with the DA's office, with probation, with mothers who lost children in gun violence, with credible messengers, and just kind of share a story about myself, and I challenge community members as well. You know, for me, you know, when I'm in my early 30s now, when I was 18 years old, I caught a federal indictment because I was one who was group involved. And I came home when I was 22, so I missed 4 years of my life. And a week after I came home from prison, I lost my mother, just tragically, because of the stress and the trauma that I put her through. So from there, losing my mother, being in the system, I realized that I really needed to make a difference, because far too often I was that person who was causing pain and harm in the community. So from there, and you know, people can change. No matter where you are in your life, you can make a difference in your community and in yourself. So for me, I went back to college, got my degree, and I just knew that once I graduated, that I wanted to be in a position to kind of save lives. And then, Lord and behold, the GVI strategy came to the city of Philadelphia a year after I graduated, and they made me, of all people, the director of that strategy. And I could tell you, I love my job. Why do I love my job? Because I'm saving lives, right? And you know, with me, you know, I feel as if I'm doing God's work, because when you see results, when you see a young person make a difference or make a step to change their lives, that's when you realize that you're behind the right strategy. So one of the biggest things about our strategy is our strategy really rely heavily, not just on law enforcement partners, but on community members. And I have someone with me right here who comes out with me as a volunteer. She don't get paid, but she comes out in the community who shares her story, same as my story, and we're out there every day. And I can tell you, in the city of Philadelphia, since 2020, in the midst of COVID, right now in the city of Philadelphia, we are seeing almost a 5-year low in gun violence. Our violence compared to last year is down 27%, and they credit the GVI service. So I challenge you all, just realize, Philadelphia is 1.5 million, Pine Bluff is 40,000. So just imagine, if it's done right, the impact that you guys can have, and you guys can probably have an impact that Philadelphia couldn't have.
I just want to ask you one question. Who gives birth to babies to bury them? Raise your hands. If you give birth to a baby to bury them, raise your hands. We're losing children. That's important to me. I'm a mother of 5 children. I lost one to gun violence. He lost his life running. He got shot 17 times while running for his life. Running for his life. My kid that I worked hard for was running for his life while I was at work. We have to stop this. So if we don't agree on anything, we have to agree that kids need to live. They need to bury us. That's all we have to agree on. And we have to do whatever we can to make sure they keep our legacies going. Period. I didn't come here to die, and I didn't come here to bury a child, but I had to. So, tonight I'm just going to say, I volunteer with GVI. First of all, I volunteer with a lot of programs, and they just didn't fit. I couldn't send people into them honestly and know that people were going to get help. The GVI strategy is a way for us to really help our children. And they don't just help the children. If you have a need, y'all know he's ran and got people Pampers in the middle of the night. Because that was the need that kept a young man on the street hustling and selling drugs and using guns. He had to get Pampers for his baby. It comes down to basic needs. We have to get in touch with our humanity, and we have to give these young men a chance. They don't come here to kill, but we have to show them what to do. And that is why I participate in the GVI strategy, because I believe in it. A couple of young men that were in the streets with my son got jobs through them. They saw me doing the work, and they said, "Ms. Kim, I need a job. I'm ready to change my life." I gave him a call. He got him jobs. Simple as that. Forget that you were on probation. Forget you were in jail. The GVI strategy doesn't look at that. They're the ones we need to help. I tell them that they're chemists, they're mathematicians. They doing the math. You come back short on one of them and they got their gun out. but they don't know how to shoot. They don't know how to shoot. We can agree on that. So that's all I have to say. Give GVI a chance, and it will work. It will work. But we all have to work together. I believe it. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Dion and Kim. Next we'll have, y'all want to do it together? You can do it. Come on, Tiz. Come on, Tiz.
I'm going to jump up here because I want to take the pleasure and the privilege of introducing this young lady. My name is Michael Muldrow. Yes, I'm the police commissioner from York, PA. But I'm not a cop. What I am is a man from my community. What I am is an advocate. What I am is a cheerleader. What I am is a person that's tired of burying our kids. I'm a little different than a lot of my colleagues, and I acknowledge that. I wear it as a badge of honor at this point because I buried my little brother to gun violence. And whatever, whenever needs to be done to stop it in our community, I was willing to do it. We're willing to do it. And the goal was finding more people that were willing to be a part of doing the same thing. I say it like this before I let you meet this young lady behind me. The first time you make a meal, you make a great dish. We ain't all start off as Big Mama. The first time you make a dish, you need a recipe. Before a great artist, music artist starts to sing them songs, you need to learn how to read music. A football team, a basketball team that goes on to be have a championship program, they don't just get on the field and start tackling people. They need a playbook. That's what GVI is. It's a playbook. It's a strategy. As soon as we hit this community, the first thing, we've been here for 2 days now, as soon as we hit this community, the first thing we did was parked our car and got out in your streets and started walking around. Started talking to folks. Started interacting with people. And what I see in Pine Bluff is a community full of heart. What I see in Pine Bluff is a whole town full of people that care. What I see in this room tonight is all the answers. You don't need somebody to come in from out of town with some big position, some big title, from a bigger city than yours, to say, we're going to come down here and fix you. You have everything in this room that you need to fix yourself. All you need is that recipe. All you need is to learn how to read music. All you really needed was a playbook. And you'll be able to accomplish everything that Philly pulled off and the results that they've seen. You'll be able to accomplish the kind of results I'm proud to say that we've been able to see in a city that was competing to be one of the most violent in the United States of America. We're now, because of what the strategies you're going to hear about tonight, from the people you're going to hear from tonight, we are now sitting on 80% reductions in violence, in gun violence. My law enforcement colleagues, we are now sitting on an 80% clearance rate. When you do something in our community, not only are we catching folks, but we've been able to transition to a place where prevention is happening organically. The lady you're going to hear from, she can show you in her inbox messages. I don't know if your town's like my town, but in my town, teenagers are the ones that are lighting everything up. In my town, young people are the ones that are dropping all the bodies. And as we stand here tonight, she can show you in her inbox where we literally have those same young people, those same actors, those same shooters, those same people that the people on the outskirts of our community call thugs. She now has in her inbox where they're messaging her to say, Miss Tiff, you told us to stop shooting, so we've stopped shooting. If you want to know how, if you want to know why, if you want to accomplish the same thing here, which is being proven over and over and over again in other people's communities, with people that are willing to do the work, that care enough to get out there and make it stop, please listen. Egos aside, personal agendas aside, personal goals aside, I need your goal tonight to be wanting to keep your kids alive. I need your goal tonight to be about your babies. Not an election, not a new business you're trying to bring in town, not an initiative you're trying to promote, but the sheer fact that we've come together as a room full of people that are willing to do anything and everything we can do to stop burying our little brothers, like I had to bury mine. So thank you for having me. Thank you for letting us be here tonight. And I proudly would like to introduce to you Ms. Tiff Love.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Pine Bluff, thank you guys for having us. The hospitality is phenomenal. The catfish, phenomenal. I love it. I love it. Woo. Each time I get in front of a crowd and get on a mic, I'm gonna tell you guys a secret. I'm nervous. So when they do this big old introduction, I'm like, if they knew that my palms was sweating, my feet are sweating, would they still want to hear from me? You know? But I don't do any presentations. I have a conversation. The things that I'm gonna say to you, I didn't say it in any other room. It's not scripted. I did my homework before I came here. I watched your Facebook Lives, and I had to build a connection beyond Nikki. I understood her job. We had the same thing. I had to build a connection with you all. So one of the things that stood out to me was when I watched the Facebook Live, and it was a man on there, and 3 of your babies were shot and killed, and one was a 14-year-old girl. If any of that family's in here, I'm sorry. But I'm gonna tell you something. Back in Pennsylvania, that tore me up. Still tears me up. I don't know this little girl, never seen this little girl. All I know was I read and I heard that they said it was a 14-year-old child. That right there let me know I had to come down here and do some work. I had to help you guys. But when I got down here, like Mr. Muldrow said, I was a little confused. I'm like, you guys got everything right here. Why isn't it working? Now we're about to talk. Everyone is looking comfortable right now. You know, we've got some good chairs, they're sturdy. And one thing with GVI is we're sturdy, right? And we have this thing, it's a 3-legged stool, right? And that 3-legged stool, to make it work, is law enforcement, support and outreach, service providers, and community. But the moment one of those aren't working together, well, the stool falls. So I look at all you guys right now sitting comfortably, and if I come out and kick the leg underneath one of your chairs, what's going to happen? And then when you fall, just with a raise of hand. If I literally right now leave from behind here and go kick somebody's chair and the leg breaks and it falls, how many people in here can fix a chair? How many people can help? Nobody? I know how to tape a chair. Get some tuck tape, they'll be right back. Everybody in here can help. That person fall, everybody gonna try to lift them up, right? Ain't nobody just gonna see somebody, y'all are not gonna allow my out-of-town self to kick somebody's chair right now and ain't nothing happening. Everybody's gonna be a help. You're gonna be a resource. Amen. That's the same thing with GVI. You gotta stop allowing this to fall. Community. You're the strongest leg. You are the strongest legs. These are your kids. These are your babies. You guys got to come together. I understand you may not like this person. You may not like that person. But when it's all said and done, it ain't about that. It's about these children that are dying. It's not okay that a 14-year-old child, girl, is dead. And only thing I keep hearing is politics, politics. I don't like this person. This person won't work with that person. Wait a minute. She's 14.
Come on now.
That's right. That's right.
They said, resource rich. Man, if we had the resources y'all had in York, my goodness, you guys are polluted. That's a great thing. But resource rich plus collaboration poor equals more deaths and more funerals. Well, I'm not here for that. I'm here for what? More graduations and less funerals. So y'all got to figure a way to make that work. You guys literally, the population is similar to ours in York, Pennsylvania. We have about 50,000 people. You guys have about 40, 50, right? The difference between us and you guys is we are a 5.2 mile radius town. I didn't realize how big Pine Bluff was. You guys are spread out. You guys are having all these issues. We're compacted, you know? So, yes, we're literally on top of each other. So, we have this thing, it's called GMI, right? Now, write this down so you don't forget. Get these acronyms. I'm teaching you a little something. And how many, is the buzzer gonna go off like it did yesterday?
Got it.
All right, so GMI, group member involved. It's the people that are causing the violence in your community. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but if you got 40,000 people in your community, I'm gonna tell you it's probably about 160 that's causing the violence. 40,000, 160. Make it make sense. How do you identify them? You guys know who's doing it. It's your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, and let me look a little bit more, it might be some of you.
Come on, man.
Oh, please don't kick me out of Pine Bluff.
Say it with your chest.
It's happening in your community. This is your community. I'm going back home. Yeah, my commissioner said, we're down 80%. I gotta go back home because I still got 20% I gotta work for.
Yes.
You understand? That means that somebody else is still getting shot. That's not enough. I want 100%. We literally celebrated 41, 42 days in my community without a shooting. Yes, I'm happy about it, but I want to go longer than that. Because on day 43, somebody got shot. I'm not okay. But again, I'm leaving my community to come to your community because I'm invested in that 14-year-old little girl. I want to meet her mom. I want to meet her dad. I want to hug them. I want to say I'm sorry. It's trauma. Trauma, 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 trauma. We go inside the jails and we visit back home. We came here and we visited. I visited one of the, from what I heard, she was a tough girl from here. Not going to reveal her name or anything like that, but they told me some things about her and I wanted to meet her. I always want to meet the toughest one. Before I go any further, let me tell you why I always want to meet the toughest one. Because I was once the toughest one. Did I mention that I used to be in jail? Did I mention that I used to sell drugs? See, I heard that a dope boy woman cannot save the lives of these children. I hate to be the one to tell you I sold more drugs than the law allowed and I saved a lot of kids. Not only did I save a lot of kids, right now we got a scholarship that's saving even more. I'm sending kids to school. You understand? So please, don't ever judge a book by its cover. Second chances are real. See, when you have people with that mindset, it's going to keep me in the streets. Just imagine if this man didn't give me that opportunity, knowing what I was doing. Just imagine. I done worked in the school districts. I'm a coach. I'm now the project manager. I have a bachelor's. I'm a teacher. Certified. Did I mention that? Remember this face. I sold more drugs than the law allowed. now because I don't sell no more. I'm saying that in front of a bunch of cops. Let me tell you guys something. Don't listen to those folks. Stop asking for permission to save your baby. I ain't asking nobody nothing. I'm going to get up from behind my desk and I'm going to save them any which way I can. We came to your city. We got off the plane at 4 o'clock. We was on a football field. We didn't know where we was at. We seen some kids. We seen a man. Hey, how you doing? And they talked to us. And you know what that 15-year-old said to me that was out there on a Sunday in the heat? Wait.
Tell him.
Should I?
Tell him.
We asked him, what got you out here keeping you out of trouble on a Sunday? You out here running routes. He said, I want to get my mama. I love mama. Y'all so touchy. He said, I want to get my mama out of here. That's the typical answer. But then he followed up and said, and I don't want to die. This 15-year-old's trying to live.
Thank you, God.
And y'all still want to have silos? And y'all still want to talk about titles? Use your title as a tool.
Yeah.
Stop using it as an ego. Oh, well, I'm this and I'm that. But that kid is still in the grave.
My Lord.
I don't give a damn about your titles. Am I allowed to curse? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Woo!
Tell it.
I'm going to end this with this. To the naysayers that believe that GVI doesn't work. I know that it does, right? I'm living proof that it does, all right? We walk every day. York City knows about GVI. We had naysayers. We had people from the top to the bottom that didn't believe in us. We had to keep grinding. We had to keep pushing. We had to do things like this over and over and over and over and over, and we're still doing it because I still got people that don't believe in it. My goal and my mission is everybody's going to believe in it because when it's all said and done, these are our babies. If you don't feel like they're your babies, get them out this town. If you feel like if you're in a high position, get out of it. Give somebody else the position. Let them do the job. You're not going to use your title as a tool. Get out the way because you're killing these kids. You are the reason that 14-year-old is not here. Do something. I'm tired of burying kids. So this is how I'm going to end it. The difference, and this is to the naysayers, the difference between the dope boy selling drugs and this, that, and the third, so the difference between me and you is I got caught. You didn't. Drops mic. Have a great day.
Y'all can imagine how it was when we went to York, right? It was great. It was great. There was no way I could not bring her here for you guys to hear how GVI works and how they work together, as well as with Miss Kiana. We had an opportunity to do some custom notifications in their town with them, and it was impactful. I know the mayor went out. In fact, I think it was yesterday, the mayor asked, what happened to the little fellow that I went to see at the house? I still think about that, you know, so it's not something, we didn't just leave York and say, oh, York. We brought all that with us, as she said, these are her kids, those are our kids too, because we were out there. At this time, I want to turn the floor over to Professor David Kennedy. He is the creator of GVI. He's the one that put this all together, and we're all following his model. So at this time,
as you look around you, guess who's not a cop or a community activist? That's supposed to be funny. Laugh. The first thing I want to say to all of you is you are here. Everybody up here, my colleagues, Kevin and Fatma, everybody back at the National Network in New York, this extraordinary community of practice that has evolved nationally and now internationally around this work. we are all violence prevention fanatics. And we spend a lot of time from where we stand wondering why people don't care more about this. And you are here, you have shown up, you care about this. That differentiates you from a whole lot of other people in this city, in this state, in this country that we're in. So first and foremost, thank you and congratulations. You want to do something here. The commissioner said that there's a playbook, and I want to walk through what that playbook has turned out to be. We are violence prevention zealots because we know violence is special. There's formal research that shows this. I have one foot in academia and scholarship all the time. We know now that violence ripples through communities, it ripples through families, it affects the life course of the survivors. You said, and you are right, that you and your family will never be the same. The communities where violence is concentrated suffer collective trauma. The young people exposed to violence suffer in their cognitive development, they suffer in their education. We know now that those concentrations of violence inhibit economic development. We know now that it inhibits community organization and volunteerism. We know that it keeps people from voting. It hurts our democracy, right? This is all social scientific fact now. The simpler version, and everybody knows this, is that violence is different and violence is special. There is no setting that can work the way it ought to when there is violence. My good friend and colleague Fatma, who is from Pine Bluff, and I gotta confess, I've become a little jealous over the last couple of days. I want to be a raven, a seabird. I want to my good colleagues know I do stuff like that all the time. They have learned to forgive me. I actually think I want to be a raven, but I am a little jealous about not being a zebra. So Fatma came to us from the world of domestic violence and intimate partner violence. And what we all know, and again, there's fancy science on this, you do not need the fancy science to know this, there is something specially toxic about what is supposed to be an intimate and loving relationship that is saturated in violence. Right? We all know there's something distinctively wrong about that. We know equally that there are communities in this great nation of ours, and I am American and I am a patriot, and part of the reason I do this is because I am committed to the American experiment. I am committed to our democracy. And this great nation of ours is such that, looking back as long as any of us have been alive and long before, everybody knows that particularly in historically damaged and presently neglected communities of color in this great nation, young black men die at astronomical rates. The spree killings, the active shooters have brought to white folks and white families a tiny little taste of what black and brown people have lived with forever. Right? White folks and white parents are beginning to send their kids off to school, and they've got a little twinge in the back of their heads wondering whether their kids will come home. those kids are almost every single time going to come home. Black folks and black families have worried about that deeply and authentically and legitimately forever. Everybody knows this. And we have not done anything about it. And I consider that, so we are happily in a new era of civil rights. We are in a racial justice awakening. I can think of no greater racial injustice and no greater racial inequity than the fact that there are young black men in our communities at a time of elevated homicide, which has happened since COVID and since the protests. There has been a remission in our long national crime decline. We're back up to something like 5 homicides per 100,000 in the national population, right? This is how criminologists and the FBI counts this, 5 dead per 100,000 every year. Young black men in communities all across the country, simply walking around in their daily lives, will regularly be exposed to homicide rates of 600 per 100,000. And if you are in the special world of the highest risk, which I will make my way to, your risk every single year of being killed or wounded by gunshot can reach 3,000 per 100,000. Not 4, not 6, 3,000. And we know it. I participated in panels these last couple of years about what is the reason for the violence increase. And what I say every single time is the increase is an increase on top of what we are used to. And when it goes back to what we are used to, that will still be 600 per 100,000. This is not okay. And the National Network and all these folks up here and all these folks like them who have gathered around this around the country are committed to doing something about this because it is not okay. We should face the fact that what we do about this does not work. We have been doing prevention forever. We have been doing law enforcement forever. We have been going after gangs forever. We have been going after drugs forever. We have been doing the after-school programs. We have opened the parks. We have done the summer jobs. We have done the mentoring, which leaves us with 3,000 per 100,000. It doesn't work. And one of my old cop friends reminded me recently of something that I apparently said 25 years ago, and I had completely forgotten it. And he said, "David, do you remember when you said to us, when do you think what you're doing is going to start working?" It doesn't work. What you heard from all of these folks is that there is something that does work, and they're right. Here is the core set of facts that is grounded on, because this is based on simple but important empirical reality about violence. And then that has led to the playbook that has guided this work and that continues to evolve. If you do this, you will make it better. York made it better. Philadelphia made it better. Everybody who does this innovates and makes it better. This entire portfolio is less than 30 years old. It is not mature. But it will give you 80%. It will give you 25% in the most violent city right now in the United States. This will work for you. The core fact that it is built on is that homicide and gun violence is extraordinarily concentrated in a very, very small number of groups and individuals who are locked in identifiable violence dynamics. This is not hidden, it's not going on underground, it's not camouflaged, it is happening in plain sight. If you start with dead people and non-fatal gunshot wounds, and go back 5 years and look at every single incident in Pine Bluff or York or Philadelphia or anywhere else, and ask a bunch of simple questions about each one of those incidents. One of the questions is the victim, and we always know the victim, involved in one of these small active groups in the community? My world doesn't talk about gangs anymore. Gang means big, structured, organized, purposeful. Overwhelmingly, the groups that we are talking about are not like that. They're small, they're informal, they're fluid, they don't have a lot of stability, the members move around. If they're claiming bloods, then blood sets are fighting with blood sets and they're doing business with crip sets. It's not the way it works on TV, and it doesn't work the way the FBI thinks. But the groups are there, they know who they are, they know who their friends are, they know who their enemies are. And if the first question you ask is the victim and the perpetrator, or the victim or the perpetrator in this incident involved in one of these groups, the answer, and this is decades of work, it turns out to be true internationally, the answer is that provably based on the information available to law enforcement, government, and community, at least half of all homicides and non-fatal gun incidents will be connected to this world of groups. It's often demonstrably as high as 70 or 80%. And everybody in those groups, all of them, added up, will represent right around 0.5% of the population of the city. 0.5% generating 50 to 80% of the violence. The group violence intervention focuses on the groups because that's where the violence is. That's where the victimization is. Anything that we do in the name of immediate violence prevention that is not focused on that dynamic is not going to work. And that's why so much of what we do, as well-intentioned as it is, and as important as it may be for student life, for economic development, for racial justice, for all the things that matter, it can do all kinds of good things for the general population, and that is really important. But if it's not touching those groups and that group dynamic, it will not affect the violence anytime soon. The playbook for that intervention turns out to be really simple. You identify the groups, which is easy to do. You mobilize support and outreach. You go to the groups, you go to the group members, and you say, we want you safe, alive, and free. We will do anything we can to support you. The first question you ask is, are you safe? Because if they're not safe, nothing else matters. They need to be safe, they need to be secure in their daily life, they need food on the table, they need basic needs, they need to know that their families are okay. It's not traditional social services, it's simpler than that, actually. That's one plank of the stool. It's what we call support and outreach. The second is what we call the moral voice of the community. Who here was afraid of the police when you were growing up? Who here was afraid of your mother when you were growing up? That is what we call informal social control. I tell my graduate students, I just saved you 2 years of master's degree. Communities have tremendous capacity to engage directly with group members and say, this is what we want and this is what we don't want. It's not law enforcement, it's not social services, it really works. And the third plank is deterrence and enforcement. There is a place for this for law enforcement. And it's not federal prison. It doesn't have to be draconian sanctions. Really light touches can work. But if the groups know under certain circumstances when they shoot people, the criminal activity of everybody in the group will be looked at. Small things, probation, warrants, unregistered cars, child support, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not about huge sanctions for individuals. It's for the group to know that when somebody in the group shoots somebody, the group is going to pay a price it doesn't want, at which point they start controlling each other, right? Anybody here been in basic training? Does this sound familiar to you, right? That's GVI. If the partnership does those things, is consistent in its outreach with groups, sends this powerful, basic pulse out into this world of groups. We love you, we care about you, we have not made you safe, we have failed you, which we have. We are doing things differently now. We want you to be okay. We will turn ourselves inside out to make you okay. We're going to lead with the community because they will, we know you will listen to them. We're going to be utterly transparent ahead of time about how the law is going to be used, but we mean all of it. That gets you 80%. That gets you 25% in Philadelphia. And anybody can do this if you decide to.
At this time, we're going to open it up for questions. Some of you all came in late. I kind of set the ground rules. We're going to be respectful. We don't want to point the fingers. We came here to have some solutions. We're not here to point the fingers at anybody. We want to try to build each other up so that we can have a safe city. So I want to make sure I say that. At this time, I'm going to let Ms. Lancelin take over. Mr. Walden, can you help us with the mic out in the someone like that? If you have a question, please raise your hand, and Mr. Walden or myself will bring the mic to you if you have a question.
So it seems like we got a lot of work to do from what I've been hearing from the commissioner. We got to get our playbook. Tim, we got to go at it hard. Now you, right? I mean, this is no play game. Now for those of you who don't know me, I'm Bessie Lancelin. I'm Director of Clinical Services at Southeast Arkansas Behavioral Health. And I've spent and dedicated my life to doing what they are doing. What Dion is talking about, what Ms. Burrell is talking about what David is talking about. That's why I've spent my life. Not just sitting in my office, but going to the jail, to the prisons, and out in the streets. So I'm just elated, Cheryl, that I have this opportunity to stand before you today. But we want to get down to business. We need to get some questions on the floor so that we can try to get some answers while we have the commissioner and Tiff and Dion and Ms. Burrell and David all here in this place. Any questions? Okay. You come to the, oh, you're going to take the mic? Okay. Okay.
I was just asking, I think it may be important to have our local coordinator sort of give an overview of what's been done to date and maybe where some of the gaps are so that we can focus the conversation around some solutions.
Absolutely. Ooh, I love that question. I definitely want to give a shout out to my school staff. So I'll say that's where the work first started, because as we are talking about juveniles, most of them are in the schools. So as I said, I have to give Dr. Barbara Reed, Assistant Superintendent Carlock, Mr. Wilson, Ms. McNeil, and Ms. Hadley, because some of the work we've been doing, just because I'm in juvenile court with Judge Brown every Monday and Thursday, you all, and I'm seeing a lot of things in the court that most of you all don't get to see because it's confidential. I started this job on January 9th, and I can tell you it hasn't been 1 week that we haven't had one juvenile come in with a possession of a handgun charge. Not 1 week. Sometimes it's 2. So some of the things we learned in that process, we have a lot of kids that are going to school that are 17, 16, 18, and guess what? They have 1 or 2 credits. So what do you think happens at 18? They drop out, right? So myself, Ms. Hadley, Ms. McNeil, with the blessing of the superintendents, because we couldn't do this work without them, we said, hey, can we intervene a little bit earlier and try to get them to get into GED? We have a great partnership with CR, and we've been getting them into that GED program and getting them going. So when you ask some of the work, that's some of the work, because we don't want them on the street. And if any of you have been to CR, let me just say, they need students. We were out there visiting, it's about, how many, about 6 of us, Judge, that went out there? About 6 of us, and we met Dr. Bloomberg, an amazing, amazing man. And we had an opportunity to talk to him and some of his staff. And the gentleman that does the welding program said he had 9 businesses that called him, but he only had 3 students to graduate. So that means he needs students. So if we can get them into the CR program, guess what they get to do? They get to transition over. Another thing that we've done, a couple of us, a couple weeks ago, went to Chicago, had a chance to be trained at the National Gang Conference. I need to learn too, I don't know everything. Myself, Mr. Walden, Morgan Carter, my DA, Mr. Hunter, and a few others, and Tasha Lewis, I see you back there. We all went because we needed to learn. And that opportunity, we were able to come back with a national trainer that happens to be here in the state of Arkansas. She actually lives in Little Rock. And on August 9th, we were able to train the Pine Bluff School District staff, the Watson Chapel School District staff on GVI, but also train them on how to deal with our kids. And one of the things that I loved about Dr. Whitfield is that she's not teaching us how to lock them up and just throw away the key. She was teaching us different ways of how to deal with our kids because of trauma. And one of the things that I said when I took this position is that there's a lot of untreated trauma here in the city of Pine Bluff. And I shared that with Dr. Barbara Reed and Mr. Wilson. One of the things I said is, if I'm sitting in class and I'm sitting next to Mr. Wilson, and Mr. Wilson is murdered, the kid that's used to seeing that kid now realizes there's a void. Who decided or helped that kid get some treatment? We're not doing that. And so that was what the partnership with Miss Lancelin and Miss James and Miss Lewis, we were like, let's get these kids some counseling. So sitting in court, as I said, you guys don't get to see what goes on in court. We have all our counseling agencies right then in the courtroom so we can get them help right then, because we know a lot of them are dealing with trauma that hasn't been treated. I remember when Tiff, one of the first things Tiff said Monday when we were meeting, when she met the juvenile that she was talking about, first thing she said is, what's their trauma? And I said in my head, Tiff, I've been talking about this, and Tasha Lewis can tell you I've been talking about it, because we know there's a lot of untreated trauma. Just because we move on with our life, these kids are dealing with a lot of stuff, and a lot of these kids are scared. Professor Kennedy had talked to us about a lot of these kids carrying guns because they're scared. And we in the adults in the room are not making them feel safe, so we have to do a better job. Another thing, to answer your question, the site visits were helpful, and I can't elaborate enough on how important those site visits were, because me being on the ground and seeing how custom notifications work, how the team works together, the collaboration piece is everything. I can't do this by myself. I need people in this room who know family members that have lost kids to gun violence. I need a Kim Burrell. I need a Kim Burrell. If I don't have a Kim Burrell, this is not gonna work, because like I said, you all missed what she shared at 4:30 today. I need resources in the community. If you're doing something, I may not know about it. I don't know everything. Tell me what you're doing. If you're willing to mentor, whew, I need mentors. We don't have enough male mentors. And let me say this when I say about mentors. We need male mentors that are gonna be consistent. One of the things when we went to Philly, one of the gentlemen talked to myself and Tiff, and he said, they gonna mess up, y'all. Don't act like you're scared of them. Give them a chance. They not coming with all the tools. They're gonna bump their head a couple times, but that's what the mentorship piece is about. We gotta let them bump their heads, but let's keep guiding them along the way. And he was real with it. I appreciated that, because it let me know what I need to be looking for. Yes.
Let me interrupt you.
Yes.
Because I want to make sure that we all get our questions, and we're gonna run out of time.
Right.
And so I I need to take the next question. I'm sorry. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I really don't have a question. I just want to collab and I just want to collab on some things that Tiff said and you said. You got to have strategies. And me too. I was one that was terrified in this community, did a lot of things. These are the offsprings of my generation, you know. And when 8 years ago, I prayed to God, and I sat in the house 5 years. You got to come out with a strategy. I'm director of 2 schools here. One school is the Barber College. I'm a licensed teacher. We ain't had no violence there yet. No murders, no violence, none of that. I'm a gatekeeper of the North Side. I have my own organization called Social Intelligence Enforcers and Intelligence Social Enforcement. There's only 4 of us, 8 years. It came out in 2007. We have one of the safest sides in Pine Bluff. It's a strategy. You gotta have a strategy. You gotta get out there. You gotta have people like Tip, someone that's been a drug dealer, go to the hardest one and tell him, hey, this is what I did. I had to change my life. Be sure it can be done. When I speak in my community, they're gonna listen because they know I'm there for them. I'm gonna help them elevate. I'm gonna help them get to the next level. I'm gonna have them feed them. I'll bring them clothes. I'll give them rides. I'll take them wherever they gotta go. To see them not do what I've done or see them not continue on making the same mistake, you gotta have strategies. I work with Reverend Turner here on Power Patrol, pen and pencil. Learned a lot of great things for these men. There's a lot of, like he said, a lot of great people in the city. My friend Derek Neal, he poured into me. We got great officers here. I see him rush from one side to another side because that's the love they show for the community. Joe Anderson, great man.
We got a lot of great people in our community, and I hope somebody's writing all this down.
Yeah, I just want to
calling you and you and you and
I just want to speak, let people know that we can do this, but we got to take each one idea to make it work. Unity in the Lord and being on one accord, that's how it works. We got to get rid of all titles. When I go play, I don't bring my title. I come with a willing mind to do whatever I can do. Like one man told me, he said, young man, you play a lot of games. He said, now you need to go on the field, not play on the field, but go in the crowd to see what role you play.
Okay.
It took me a long time to find it out.
You, but I'm seeing hands in the back, and this gentleman in the very back, I saw his hand first.
Thank you again. I'm Doug Allen, and I'd like to ask for the people who are not sure how to get the training or get the tools to use, where can we find those tools or who can we contact? You know, because as a pastor, I go back in my local church and they'll ask that question, well, where do I get trained? Because a lot of people don't get involved a lot of times because they don't feel they're adequate to help.
That answer would be me. You get in touch with me, I'm gonna give you my number, I'll give you my card. I'll bring it back to you.
Can you say that in the mic so everybody can get your number so they can be all calling you?
My cell number, 870-510-0386. I'll repeat it one more time. 870-510-0386.
Good evening, everyone. I want to ask the question about, I immediately realized about the third approach where if someone in the group does something, the rest of everybody get touched. Never thought of it that way, and I think that's very effective because eventually people will probably want to get out of the group because they keep getting touched. So have we in this community exercised that yet? Have we identified a group and begin to surround them and begin to touch them?
I will say yes to that question. I would definitely give a shout out to Sheriff Woods and Chief Richardson. We have great dialogue about what's going on in the city. I'm sitting in court every day and they're also telling me who's connected to people that are the adults. So yes, that is going on right now, Dr. Wiley, of us identifying who those groups are. Now, do we have everybody? No. There's more we still can do, but for the most part, yes, we have identified those.
So again, it's about the touches. So have we touched everybody as a result of an incident, and have we seen a decrease in, let's say we identified there are 10 people in this group, and so have we seen that being reduced by now that's probably only 5 because we keep touching them and they decide to break apart. So how's that taking place? or are we on the way?
We're on the way. And I'm just gonna be honest, we are on the way because there's still missing pieces to this. That's why we're having the town hall, so we can connect the dots to those pieces. Are we making a dent? Yes, I do. I feel that we are. Because one, we at least identified who they are instead of just not knowing. But there is still work to do.
Okay, other questions here? This gentleman in the white chair. To him here.
Oh, what's the white cap? I'll come back to you, sir.
All right, I have a quick question. Being a long-time resident here in Pine Bluff, once you get to seeing what's going on, you'll know a lot of this stuff, the murders that are happening are related to other murders and older murders. So my question is, how do we as citizens and how do we use GVI to stop the cycle of murders and the retaliation for those murders? And how do we involve conflict resolution to slow some of this stuff down? Because if kids don't know how to stop shooting somebody when they have a problem, how can we expect them to, if that's the only thing that they know to do is to shoot somebody when they have a disagreement?
Muldrow, I'm gonna let you answer that because you talked about that when we were in the field.
It is, I mean, you hit it on the nose. That's a great question because that is literally the point of, I'm sorry. You hit it on the, sorry about that. You hit it on the nose because that's literally the question that needs to be asked. That's the purpose of the strategy. Because like you said, that cycle of violence, which is literally what Miss Nikki and everybody is speaking to, that is being perpetrated by that same small group that Professor Kennedy talked about. So until you get in there and you start to address that, you start to bust that up, you start to sit down with those individuals, and kind of to his point with the question he asked, that's what has to happen. That list has to be made of the individuals, the groups, the people that are participating in it, and then it's not enough just to have the list. Then you have to start doing the work, the difficult work, which is figuring out the ways to create platforms to make contact with those individuals, whether that's on a front porch, whether that's in the office, whether that's going to the jail, going to the placement like we did, sitting down with them, whether that's when they're at the station, when they're being engaged by police, whatever it's going to take, having those individuals understand, look, we know what it is. We know who you are, we know what it is, we know what you're into. And then the next question is the piece of the strategy, community and law enforcement. We know what you've been doing, we know what's been happening, your violence is too much. This whole entire community is fed up and tired of it. But even with that, we'll help you if you let us. If your issue is conflict resolution, if your issue is substance abuse, if your issue is employment and finances, we'll help you if you let us. But Lord, if you don't and we have to stop you, we'll stop you if you make us. You already know what it is. We've been doing this piece for years. That's what they get from me. Even in my role, like you said about titles. You know I care about you. You know I love you. I'll die for you. I'd rather them shoot me than shoot you. But I need you to stop killing each other, or I'm gonna send them boys. And what we found was, now we're at a point that the same individuals, our same 160, are now starting to reach out to TIF asking, how do we get off the list? Because they don't want that. We're getting the accountability, we're getting the peer pressure, because they know, like, we'll blaze a whole neighborhood, pulling traffic over, arresting people, arrest your girlfriend for parking tickets, whatever it's gonna take. Don't make me go there. Let me give you a scholarship, like Tiff said, and send you to school. Don't make me do that. And it's been effective. Here, it's been effective in Philadelphia. My God, I just heard earlier, it's been effective in Glasgow, wherever that is. Scotland. It's the same playbook. So, yeah, thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay, young man, right here. Okay, yes, yes.
One question is, I hear about intervention and I hear about prevention. I have not heard anybody talk about putting prayer back in school, putting God back in school. We're talking about what's coming out on the other end, right? But when you're talking about prevention, let's talk about real prevention. Oh yeah, you're gonna clean up the streets. There's 160, 170
doing the killing. The Protect Arkansas Act is going to handle that because the governor has put in place for criminal behavior 85 to 100% of the time. So they'll go ahead and lock them up, the 160, but what are you still reproducing, right? When we're talking about preventing violence, it don't start when they get 14 years old. That's when you get paid for preventing it. Absolutely. You're not preventing it. What you're doing is you're locking somebody's child up for the rest of their lives. It shouldn't even get to the point to where they're 14. When you take God out of school, you're calling children kids? There's nothing biblical about calling a child a kid. That was associated with a billy goat. And I don't even hear the pastor standing up correcting any of the behavior. This is spiritual warfare. Principalities in high places. Amen. Technical issues is not going to address the issue. What about the 16 and 17-year-old child that's pregnant now? Listening to all kind of crazy music, watching all kind of crazy TV shows, being abused by men, little boys being verbally abused by their mothers, their fathers, other adults. You talking about prevention? When do we start really preventing violence in the black community? Or we just talk about it and wait till it's happened and then get on the other end and make our money off of it? Because we're not talking about real prevention here in Pine Bluff, where we're connected at, where we actually have to see our children dying. Where I have a 16-year-old daughter had to go to a funeral and bury her best friend, who she make music with. Tell me about no prevention. Put God back in the school and prayer back in the school, and let's start there with prevention. Let's get some of these 16, 17, 18-year-old children, young girls who's pregnant now, and help them develop and raise their children to be good children. Not waiting to somebody, yes ma'am, not waiting to somebody, not waiting till she gives birth, and not understanding how to raise her child, being neglected, in poverty, self-esteem issues.
Okay, we gotta move on.
I know we have to move on, but let's talk about prevention.
So, Ms. Hughes, is that a piece of it? Exactly, there is a piece in prevention, but you just stand right here. I need to take the next question. Okay, Representative Flowers, will you?
I just wanted to touch on that and say that government can't take God out of the schools. There's nothing right now that prohibits any child from praying in school, and there's certainly nothing that prohibits any child from praying at home. I would also add that I think there needs to be a much stronger partnership and a focus on our places of worship being a part of the solution and being a part of bringing these young people into the church for guidance. But that's not what I got up to say. I really kind of have a question, and I want to provide a little bit of information for people who don't know. We see, the rhetoric around guns and the availability and accessibility of guns. We know that Arkansas is one of the most permissive gun states in the country, with open carry. That was the law when I started in the legislature 9 years ago. Since then, there have been many more laws, including we got Stand Your Ground that passed two or three sessions ago, Camara. 3 sessions ago. This past session, we have concealed carry, where permitless carry rather. So it is now legal in Arkansas for someone to purchase a gun, put it in their pocket or on their hip, and conceal it in their cars, on their person, and it's legal.
Wow.
And I would also add that it is also legal to get a concealed carry permit and have a medical marijuana permit. So it is wide open in terms of, and that's where we are. That's where we are in Arkansas and in much of the South and across the country. I would just ask, how do we deal with that? How do we deal with this proliferation of weapons along with the mass incarceration legislation that's to protect Arkansas? People need to be punished for the crimes they commit, but over-sentencing, over-prosecuting doesn't do anything but create a cost spiritually and financially to the state. So I would ask about how we deal with the proliferation of weapons. Thank you.
Yeah. So let me make essentially the same response, ma'am, to you and the gentleman who spoke before. And then I want to come back to the mass incarceration question because I've actually got something to offer on that. The people who put this together looked at the way that we were dealing as a society with this crisis of violence. And I will say again, go back to what I ended with, or penultimate before I ended, what we have been doing is not working. And we have been fighting a lot of wars on this. The gentleman who spoke before you sort of identified one. You have just identified another one. There are others we could talk about. We could talk about fentanyl. We could talk about meth. We could talk about toxic media. We could talk about a whole lot of things that are very important and that people take very seriously and that they have been working on for a very, very, very long time, and it has left us where we are, which is 3,000 per 100,000. So this is not about either one of those vectors, as important as they are, that have just been identified. God bless everybody who's working on those. Good luck to you. We asked ourselves the question, what could the people in rooms like this do right away about the killing? And this is what we came up with. So it is explicitly not about those other things. That's the public health of violence prevention. That's the deep upstream work. This is the ER room of violence prevention. It's about right now. And I'll say two things about this. One is, you do this right, we are regularly seeing jurisdiction-wide reductions in arrests of 50 or 60%. Because so much of what the police do in their everyday work is designed to get at the violence. And what they've been doing doesn't work, and it is the front line, the front end of mass incarceration. And if we're doing this and we're not making the pretext stops and we're not making the low-level drug arrests and we're not doing the no-knock warrants because we're hoping to find a bag of weed and a 38, if we're not doing that stuff anymore because this goes right at the heart of the problem, then this is the quickest thing we know how to do to tamp down that pipeline. And the other thing I'll say is this is deep prevention in a way. The root cause of violence today is violence yesterday. Violence, this is what the gentleman said, violence makes violence. If we can stop the violence today, we are stopping it tomorrow. When my sister's son was killed, in the little social network that her son was in over the next 10 years, there were 8 homicides. It's not random, it proceeds just like the gentleman said. If we stop it today, that is prevention.
Try to keep your comments to like a half of a minute. I really could go on and on.
Let me just say this, Sister Nancy. As the president of the Pine Bluff Faith Community Coalition Ministerial Alliance, I want to tell everybody here tonight that the ministers are in the schools of Pine Bluff. The ministers are walking the halls. The ministers are answering calls from the superintendents and teachers when they need someone to pray for them, when they need some help. We are in the schools, and I would encourage everyone else, if you're not in the schools, connect to the schools. You don't have to be a minister or a pastor. I see some pastors on patrol in here tonight. And what has happened with our presence in the schools, we've seen crime go down 33%. So don't think that we are not there. We are there. It's just like a policeman. You can't put a policeman on every corner, because somebody's going to do something they don't have any business. But be mindful that we are there. And we are not there to compete against one another or say what somebody else is not doing. We're there to do what we were called to do, and we do our job. And I believe those pastors are doing the best that they can with what they got.
Mr. Chair, we're going to take one last question, but what we're going to do is that the panel, and Ms. Hughes has agreed to stay. So those of you who need to leave at 7:30, please feel free to do that. But if you have other additional questions, they are willing to stay and answer those for you. But we can't hold the entire group. Mr. Carroll.
Thank you. I'm a little bit apprehensive. I've been on the phone last couple of weeks with persons in Pine Bluff, all the way to Texas, who are saying what they believe are the key players in some of this, in all of this. And what I'm being told, and I don't know if that's what you're hearing, that we're talking about 2 or 3 families maybe that is at the center of a lot of this, and then it goes to sort of territorial. I don't know if that's what you're hearing, but those were some of the phone calls that I participated in, and I'd like to chat with you afterwards.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. That's going to be, okay, Superintendent, you want to?
I'd just like to make a couple of comments. First of all, about 95% of the violence in the schools come from the community, okay? They come from the community. That's why we've got to have a great relationship with GVI. We got to know what problems there are in the community where we can be proactive. We want to be preventative. But you know what? Most of the time, we're reactive. We have to do it after the event happens, after something happens. And we've had some tragedies happen. And I've got a principal right here that went through a bad time when a student got shot 30 feet from your office. And I'm going to tell you, it was tragedy. I'm a graduate of Washington Chapel. I don't mean to get too riled up, but I graduated from Washington Chapel. I grew up over on Short 17th and Catawba Street. Anybody know where that is? That's where I grew up. How many people here were born in Pine Bluff? Raise your hand. All right, I was born in 1949, okay? I went through integration and everything when I was at Washington Chapel, okay? I've been there, I've seen it, everything happen that's been talked about here tonight. And I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna have to work together on this program. I'm 100% behind this program. I keep telling them that. We've gotta do something to protect our kids. This year, we've got 8 students that would be graduating this year, but they're dead. 6 of those kids have been murdered. And that upsets me. We're taking those lives. You know, I'd love to take the place because I want these kids to have a shot at life. And I want everybody to understand it's going to take everybody. Yes. We can go on different tangents. We can go on different reasons why we got to do something. But I'm going to tell you something. We got to stop the violence in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And it's going to take everybody. I know Miss Carey's done everything for us, helped us. We get a heads up on some of the stuff. But it's going to take everybody talking and letting GVI know what's going on in the community where we can do something about it. Amen. Thank you very much.
We're going to close out our meeting. Those of you who need to leave, those of you who want to stay and have questions, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, he's gonna talk to me.
Okay, thank you all so very much for being here tonight.
Because I gotta let them clean up. I'm sorry.